Happy Friday. Welcome to Beyond the Arc. It's Friday, which means the one and only Brad Bakken is here. I am Bill Reiter. We appreciate you. Remember, if you're looking for a bunch of Thunder Cavs talk from that barn burner last night, we did a special podcast last night, Mr. Gonzalez and I. So wherever you get your podcast, that'll be there. Whether it's that one, this one, please subscribe, download, like, spread the word. You can also subscribe on YouTube, and you can turn on the notifications button. Just push that little button, and YouTube will let you know when we're doing our thing. Good morning, Mr. Bakken. How you doing, pal?
Good morning, you.
Good. Are you good?
Good.
Living the dream out there?
I am. I'm glad that we were talking off air, but I'm glad to hear that you and your family are okay with the fires out there.
Yeah, we're good. Thanks for asking. We're in the right. I've talked to John, but we're in the right spot. And we have some friends who have been impacted, but we're doing good. We're basically in the zone where because we're sort of close to the water and the wind's blowing the right way, where we're about as good a spot as you can be.
Good.
I have covered the Miami Heat. They used to hate me. Then LeBron left and they loved me. We'll see how they feel about me after today, because I wrote something that I've been hearing for years, Brad, and I want your take on this. And if you missed this, columns at CBSSports.com. And the general premise, and obviously it's easier to sort of lay these things out in a column than it is when we're shooting the breeze here on the pod. But Pat Riley, brilliant guy, winner, basketball philosopher, coined the term the disease of more a long time ago. And it's really smart, and I think it's very intuitive about human nature. And it basically says the more that you succeed, the more that the sort of the things that success breeds can create the very habits that take away what made you successful in the first place. You want more shots, you want more shine, you want more money. And I think for me, Brad, and this Riley debacle with Jimmy Butler, and I'm not giving Jimmy Butler a hard pass. This is very complicated and nuanced, this situation. But this is the fourth superstar going back to 2008 that Riley has gotten crossways with: Shaq, LeBron, Dwayne Wade, and now Jimmy Butler. And I was thinking about this, and I was talking to people in the Heat organization. I was talking to people around the league. And I think the thing that really hit home is the people in the Heat organization, they sound, when I talked to them in the last 24, 48 hours, they sound flummoxed. They sound uncertain. I've never heard that from the Heat in my life, just in terms of what's going to happen. I think Riley is suffering from the disease of more. I think his belief that he's the smartest guy in the world, his stubbornness, he even said this on Levitar, like, maybe I am washed, whatever. What else am I going to do? It's created this, for me, this reality where Pat Riley's past successes and his unwillingness to evolve and accept where we are in the NBA has led him to create a team of mediocrity and not be willing to get his team to the next level. I think Jimmy Butler's handled it the wrong way, but I think his reported problem with the Heat, that they haven't done enough, I think there's something to it.
So what would be the things that are signaling that to you, that Pat Riley's not up with the times, that he's antiquated? What have they not done?
I think it's been building. So let me go big picture here. This is like it or not, it's a star-driven league. And culture and Pat Riley's way only gets you so far. There was a world where, look, LeBron probably was always going back to Cleveland, but I covered those teams, and I was really tight with LeBron's people at the time. I don't think it's impossible LeBron would have stayed in Miami if, and I know Riley didn't want to do it, if Riley had kissed the ring a little bit, if he had realized that you have to recruit even guys that are with your team. Dwayne Wade, I'm not worried about. The answer to your question is you have to accept that if you can't recruit talent, you have to keep the talent you have. And telling them to F off, telling LeBron in a press conference in 2000, and I'm going to get the date wrong, 2014, that you got to be tough enough to stick together. Telling Jimmy Butler to shut his mouth last, whatever it was, May, when Jimmy Butler said, if I had been healthy in this series that he played against the Celtics, we would have won this thing. And Pat Riley literally came out and said, shut your mouth. Keep your mouth shut. Be quiet. I think those are the things, Brad. I also think, look, I don't think they've operated particularly effectively in the draft. I think that this is taking it from people in Portland, but I think it's true, this sort of talk around the NBA. Pat Riley thought it was a done deal. He was going to get Damian Lillard. And the way I'm told that he interacted with Joe Cronin, the sort of absolutism of how there was no sugar mixed into the pitch. It was all vinegar and no honey trying to catch that fly. It pissed off Cronin, obviously the GM in Portland, so much that Cronin's motivation, I'm told, became as much I'm going to bleep over Pat Riley as I am sort of navigate what's best for my organization. That's the reason Lillard is a Buck and not a Heat. I think Pat Riley's ego and stubbornness time and again have cost him superstars. That's what I would have done differently.
Okay, so fair points. I don't know Pat like that. I mean, I've listened to him in press conferences and listened to him over the years, like a lot of other reporters, and he certainly he has that reputation, smartest guy in the room. He sort of gets things done, and sort of the respect factor with players and his old coaching and all of that. And I don't know that it is the disease of more so much as this is the way Pat Riley operates. And when it has worked, I do think we have praised him. I do think when LeBron came to South Beach, it was Pat Riley goes out and gets something done that nobody else could do. It's the Heat culture that guys want to play for. There's a lot of things about the Heat that get annoying. That they think they're so far above everyone else in terms of player development, culture, all that. And that stuff does rub some people the wrong way. I'm sure in behind closed doors, NBA circles, as much as it does fans and media. But I push back a little bit in the sense that, okay, let's look at and Dwayne Wade, to your point, Bill, Dwayne Wade was on a pod pretty recently, and he said,
yeah, yes.
With Pat Riley and with the Heat in general, the culture doesn't change even for LeBron James. It does not change. So everybody comes in and fits to their shape. And there are times when that works to your favor. And Dwayne Wade pointed it out where he said a lot of these other teams, we're halfway into every year, we're talking about what's their identity, what's their culture. When it doesn't work, when it's all over the place, when it's haphazard, when the players run the organization, when LeBron's with the Lakers and everybody's talking about how Rich Paul's running the locker room and LeBron's making the decisions behind closed doors, and then we beat up on that and we say there's no stability.
But what's the point of culture? You're right. What's the point of culture if it doesn't lead to winning? LeBron's won 2 rings since he left Miami. Miami's won no rings since he left Miami. Manage LeBron better.
I don't ever take that black and white of a stance on winning in the NBA because only one team wins, and there's no way you're going to convince.
Oh, I do.
That 29 teams are doing it wrong. It's just not how it works. In fact, I would say that the Miami Heat have wildly overperformed in the Jimmy Butler era.
Because of Pat Riley or because of Eric Spoelstra? They'll be the first to tell you.
Because of Jimmy Butler, first and foremost. And
now Butler's gone. Here's the thing. Here's my thing about Pat Riley. How did he get LeBron James? He put all of the rings on a table in a meeting. If you stop winning rings, if people think you're unable to deliver that sort of this is your future, guys aren't going to show up. And I'll go into the weeds more too here. I think, and that's just my informed speculation, I think LeBron was always leaving. He was always going home for Cleveland.
So do I.
But Jimmy Butler, Pat Riley basically telling LeBron you're a loser and a coward on the way out. And not just that. That's the public message. The Heat hated LeBron and would tell anyone who would listen, including me, who they hated when I was hard on LeBron, how much they hated LeBron. They burned every single bridge. Again, this is the disease of more. This is the ego. Because if Pat Riley had just said, if Pat Riley had just been like, I'm disappointed, if he had put on a little bit of that charm that he used when he recruited him, I do think there's a world where LeBron could have come back to Miami when he was through with his time in Cleveland. I think Pat Riley is brilliant. I have a ton of respect for the Heat. I know a bunch of people in that organization. At least until I wrote this column, they talk to me on a regular basis, and they still will. We've had some tough conversations over the years. I think we talk about the complication of LeBron James and how he's amazing, but he's an egomaniac. And he is. He takes the oxygen out of the room. He lies about playing one-on-one against Michael Jordan. That's the reality. We talk about Jimmy Butler, not the same level, but how he's playoff Jimmy. He elevates a team. And he's the reason they've made the Heat 3 conference finals in the last 5 years and 2 finals. But he can't get along with anybody, and he always says he's welcome. It's true. It can be both. We should be doing the same thing with Pat Riley. The disease of more isn't you're finished. It's now you're impeded by the very things that made you successful. Your ego, your drive for power, your need for recognition, the belief that the Heat way is just the end game. It's not. He's got it backwards. The Heat way is supposed to lead to championships. And for me, I think they've overachieved because of Eric Spoelstra and to a degree because of Jimmy Butler. And if Pat Riley had accepted he hasn't done enough and had added the right pieces around Butler when Butler wasn't 102, they're actually championship contenders. It's, for me, we don't apply the same logic and standard of criticism to Pat Riley as we do to Jimmy Butler, as we do to LeBron James, as we do to Russell Westbrook, and I think we should.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. I mean, you're right that, the stuff that has burned, that Jimmy Butler has popped up about Jimmy Butler in past stops is now popping up in Miami, and we're holding him accountable to that's been his way of exiting a team his whole time. And so, yeah, I guess the things that and Dwayne Wade said it. LeBron lasted 4 years. Even Dwayne Wade got ticked off and wanted to leave. I think that's fair. That we have not talked enough about that. Pat Riley has refused to change his approach, and maybe that could have led to a bit more honey and a bit more luring some other stars maybe to build around Jimmy Butler. I also, though, would think that we need to point out that we kill teams that are constantly changing who they are for whoever star they want. They have no foundation.
Yeah, that's fair.
They're always changing coaches. They're always changing who they're going to pay, and who they're going to bring. They're letting agents run. There's just no stability. They're going with the way the wind blows, and that doesn't work either. So I think there's some criticism, but he did go get Jimmy Butler. I remember when everyone was killing him for not going and getting Russell Westbrook when he was available. Oh, we need to bring him in. And he said, no, we're good enough now. I remember being at that press conference, and they actually were. And I think that there's been, could he have been better about getting Damian Lillard? I don't know. I wasn't behind closed doors. It did seem like they were taking a pretty hard stance of, you have no leverage here, and so we're going to throw what we think you can get at you, and we're going to be sort of arrogant about it. Yeah, right. I think Riley has those characteristics. I just think in the end, it's tough for me. It's tough for me to criticize, because here's the thing: if they resign Jimmy Butler, so we're saying, let's say in a hypothetical world, Pat Riley changes who he is, and he says we need to keep Jimmy Butler happy, like all these other teams that do with their best player. And Jimmy Butler's 35 years old, and they go sign him to the deal that he thinks he's worth right now, which across the league, this is becoming a movement where guys like Paul George and all these, and they keep him happy. And then they're still not good. The time with Jimmy Butler's over. I think Pat Riley sort of knows that. And so he's not going to kiss Jimmy Butler's ring and pay him what he doesn't deserve. And that's what's making Butler mad.
I agree, but but again, like, your job as Pat Riley is to manage these things properly. Yes, Jimmy Butler wants a contract the Heat shouldn't give him. We're agreed. But that was confounded. The fuel was thrown on the fire when just before those conversations, Pat Riley in that end of season press conference said, "Shut your mouth." Right. Like, that is absolutely unnecessary on every level. All right, I want you make really good points, because I think Riley's amazing. This isn't Pat Riley sucks. It's Pat Riley is so good. And I think that there is some complacency or some bad habits that have creeped into Pat Riley's approach, because he is so good and he buys into that good greatness. And that is the very point of the disease of more. Not that you're terrible, but that you're so good, you got to guard against the spoils of your own success. I want to make two more points on this in just a second, and we got to hit a few other things, including, I'm sorry about your Warriors. We'll talk about that too. But we're gonna come back in just a minute. It's Beyond the Arc, Brad Bach and Bill Reiter, and we're gonna put a bow on this. Pat Riley, is he suffering from the disease of more that he coined, in a moment here? Don't go anywhere.
Sail GP is coming to Auckland, New Zealand. The City of Sails will be expecting a performance from the Black Foils and their driver, Peter Burley.
All right, welcome back into Beyond the Arc. Very quickly on this, you made some really good points, and it made me think of a couple things, Brad, on Pat Riley and to what point he deserves blame. One of the things Riley wants people to guard against is complacency, and this idea that just because you've had success doesn't mean you should be like, whatever, I want more shots, or I'm fine. And to me, when he was on Levitard, what was that, a week or two ago? Time doesn't make sense anymore to me. And Riley said, Levitard asked him, "Are you washed?" And he basically gave this long answer and said, maybe, but what else am I going to do? I'd be obsessed about something else. That's not an acceptable answer. Maybe I'm washed, but I'm doing this because otherwise I'd be obsessing about tiddlywinks or checkers or chess or what. That's not the answer I want from Pat Riley. Is I'm not washed. I'm totally focused. Not, I got to do something. So I don't know, maybe That's a problem. That to me is exactly the things that he has told us to guard against or other people for 30 years. The other thing is my favorite Doyle Brunson quote about do you play poker? About poker is in limit hold'em, you fire at the target. In no limit hold'em, the target fires back. And that's also true in the NBA. You're right. Just because only one team wins a championship doesn't mean 29 teams are failing. But it's also true that you're competing all the time. Riley's inability to land Damian Lillard, whatever the reason, all those machinations, how that trade went down is the reason that Drew Holiday ended up with the Celtics. Because if he lands Lillard and not Milwaukee, Milwaukee doesn't send Drew Holiday to Portland, and obviously Drew Holiday ends up in Boston. So not only, if you're Jimmy Butler, have the Heat not been as competitive and ambitious in adding people like the Knicks and like the Thunder, more on the margins, and Hartenstein and Caruso, and like Boston. You just got to go down these teams that are competitive. Riley's intractability also directly, indirectly, with 1 degree of separation, led to Boston getting a piece that took them levels and levels ahead of them. So you got to keep up or you die in this business.
Yeah. I do agree with that stuff. I just think it's always more nuanced. I in the end, we're gonna, like the Warriors right now, we're gonna talk about these teams that have had a lot of past success and have not bent what they believe. And if you quote the Doyle Brunson, I've got a country, I forget the name of the
country music.
But the line is you got to stand for something or you'll fall for anything. And it's one of the great lines. And the Miami Heat stand for something. And you have to be so in today's game with how easily your organization can be absolutely overtaken by your star. Overtaken. Unless you have Stephen Curry, who doesn't put you in that position, almost every other star puts you in that position. And you have got to stand so tall and so proud and so egotistical and so arrogant. And this is my organization. We're doing it my way. If you don't, it's a very slippery slope before you start falling for every superstar that's on the market. Everyone, we got to go make this trade. We got to overpay this guy. We got to do what this guy wants. I tend to err on the side of there will be examples along the way where you should have, where in hindsight, you could have been sweeter, you could have been nicer, didn't have to say that about Jimmy Butler in a press conference. But generally speaking, I err on the side of organizations that stand for something, because if you don't, you end up being the Lakers. You end up being who's running this team? Should we blow it up? Should we not? Should we fire the coach? Should we not? And it ends up being a mess. And so I just err on that side. But to your point, a lot of the things that have made the Heat successful, particularly that adamant stance on their culture and how you're going to fit to them, right now it could be burning them a little bit.
I agree with everything you said. I'll just end here, and I think you'd agree. There is some space between being the poster child of the most arrogant, intractable organization in sports and being the poster child of the most, being a pushover and controlled by your star player. There's a middle ground, and your job in these situations, if you run these teams, is to navigate that.
The thing is, Bill,
it's tough.
It's like everything in life. The answer's always in the middle. But if I had to err, the way it plays out,
you're going to lean toward.
Yeah, because usually the way it plays out ends up being more on the extreme. Like I'm trying to think of the team that does it like perfect, like right down the middle, and I just don't know.
I agree in philosophy. I want to agree with you. LeBron James has been he's not a culture vampire, but he kind of is. But it's whatever. It's been worth it. Everywhere he goes, he wins championships, and the juice has been worth the squeeze. Yeah. I know I'm not supposed to say anything even remotely negative about Kobe. Kobe was amazing, but Kobe was a lot, dude. Kobe was a lot, and it was worth it. I mean, they got championships post-Shaq out of Kobe because that was Kobe's team, and it was Kobe's way. I mean,
Kobe's an interesting thing you bring up because the Lakers stood for Kobe instead of the Lakers. In the last 5 years, they were like a 20-win team. So now let's talk about the Lakers. Are they taking the previous success? Are they taking the previous, like the Lakers do with Kobe, and say, we're going to ride this thing out into the sunset and live on our past?
The disease of more here too. Here is a theory that or something I'm thinking about. And I'm interested in your perspective because you're a Warriors guy. So I always thought Bob Myers, this will not be a popular opinion, obviously was the GM of the Warriors and led them as the leader of that front office to a bunch of championships. And there's disputes about to what degree he should be credited with Steph Curry and Clay and Draymond, because there's talk that 2 or 3 of those guys would have been traded a few times for various pieces. Kevin Love is one rumor trade. Another was for Chris Paul when Chris Paul was shipping out 2 of those guys. I think that all-time greats like Steph enhance the reputations of coaches and GMs sometimes more than they deserve. Bob Myers is gone. And whatever sort of Bob Myers did or didn't do, I am worried, and this is what I'm focused on, are we sure Mike Dunleavy Jr. is up to the job? Are we sure that he's at the level you need to be to navigate, to your point, the back half of Steph Curry's time where there's no Klay Thompson and where it's not as sure a thing? You can build a winner around Steph, but you're going to have to probably be better at it than you were 5 years ago, because as great as Steph is, it's not 5 years ago Steph Curry.
Yeah, I do think I don't know if Mike Dunleavy's up to it. I don't know.
I don't either.
What I do think, and I firmly believe this, is Bob Myers didn't want to have to be the guy to answer, "Are you up to this?" Because he knew it was getting tough. He knew they were going to have to deal with. It was time to get rid of Klay Thompson. He knew that all those salary benefits that they had when they got Kevin Durant and the cap spike and all these things, all these factors, the $44 million contract they had Curry on, they had so many financial factors in their favor that made it so easy to construct a super team that fell into their lap. Stephen Curry fell into their lap. Then they got him on a bargain discount. Then the cap spike happened and they got Kevin Durant. They ended up with Draymond Green as a second rounder, which almost never happens. Nobody
right.
All these things fell into place, and it was coming to an end. Kevin Durant was leaving. Curry's now on a max deal. Clay's on a max deal. Draymond's getting a bunch of money. They don't have all these advantages built into place anymore. And I don't think Bob Myers wanted to have to go navigate those feet.
I agree.
This is a very difficult process right now. And I think the Warriors, if I had to sum it up, and I think the Heat to some degree are in this place. And again, you sort of do have to be very discerning about this stuff, because it's very easy. Like the Knicks did this for years. We have to go out and make the move. And they kept paying the wrong people until they finally settled back and said, we're going to build around the margins. We're going to get our Josh Harts and our DiVincenzo's. We're going to get Brunson on a bargain contract. We're going to build this slow until the right moment comes to actually make the right move. And they got Karl Anthony Towns. And I think you do have to evaluate this thing very smartly and not get trigger happy. But the Warriors, and maybe to a degree the Heat, they are standing in the cereal aisle where there are too many options. They went to the store and it's like, dude, we need our Cinnamon Toast Crunch, right? Like, I want the best thing. That's it. And they go home with like frosted mini. Like Dennis Schroeder is frosted mini wheats. Like,
my dude Schroeder.
He's fine. He hasn't been good, but he's better than this. But they're trying to make these moves around the edges, whatever happens to be on sale at the store, not the cereal they want. But there's
no plan.
No, I think the plan is, and here's the deal.
What is the plan?
Here's the plan, Bill. And this is the part that's not being said. They're done with this. Right at the bottom of our screen, it says, have the Warriors quit on the season. Stephen Curry is never going to quit. Steve Kerr is never going to quit. But the front office is saying through its actions, we're done with this era. We don't think we can win. I'll go one step further.
Wow.
I actually think the Warriors, if you could put truth serum into Lacob, I actually think he wants Draymond Green and Stephen Curry to ask out. There's
not Steph. Not Steph.
No, I do.
No. Lacob is so arrogant. And by the way, speaking of the disease of more, this is different because he made his money. This guy, remember the New York Times cover story? This like 5 years ago. It was the headline was about the ownership group of the Warriors, about Lacob, and it was basically the smartest people in sports.
Yeah, they thought they built this whole thing.
Steph built everything. It's just like Jerry Krause wasn't it. It was Mike, right? That's just. Dude, you just blew my mind. If they want Steph Curry to go, and I think it's smart insight, I've never thought of it, that is ownership malpractice. That is James Dolan level incompetence, if that is true.
Because the Warriors, if they wanted to, and it may have blown up in their face, it's easy to talk about right now, but if they do have the assets, they waited. They made the wrong move with James Wiseman. Stephen Curry even said that. And then they waited too long to trade him until his value had tanked. They have refused to move off Jonathan Kuminga and or Moses Moody, while until this year, Steve Kerr has also not been committed to developing them as the players they needed to become.
I think that's a great point.
Yeah, they haven't committed one way or the other. But they don't, because of this arrogance of that, they don't want to fall. They don't want people to think that Steph Curry was everything. So they are protecting so heavily against falling off too precipitously when Curry's done. They feel like they have to. I got news for Warriors fans. If your future is Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, Brandon Pajemski, when Curry and Green are gone, you're toast unless you get free agents anyway. Those draft picks you're guarding against that are going to be 18 to 24 are not going to save everything. So again, I'm going to go back to this. They'll never do it because they don't want to be the guys that traded Stephen Curry. That no one will do that. But they are signaling, because Steph Curry wants to win. We're not going to make a move because we don't think you can win. You're going to ride off into the sunset. We had our good times, and if they had their druthers, they could. If they really, honestly, are so concerned about this future that they want to build, they could go out and get an absolute. Let's just say a team like Houston right now, and they go to Steph and they just say, look, Steph, we're not going to win here. We don't believe the player that can make a big enough difference is out there. We're not getting Giannis.
You can't trade Steph.
If you give us the opening with the fans, if you give us the opening,
you can't trade Steph.
I disagree. This
is the Bulls trading. This is the Bulls trading Jordan. However, you do spark. I'll say this. Here's where we agree. Let me take this disease of more and tweak it. The Warriors have the disease of more of someone else's more. The Golden State Warriors have the disease of someone else's more. They didn't even create it. And what you've made me sort of the light bulb that just went off is that the entire organization has failed Steph Curry. Steve Kerr failed Steph Curry by not developing these players. And that ownership group failed Steph Curry by, as producer Aaron points out, saying years ago, we are light years ahead. No, you have a starship in Steph Curry. You're not light years ahead. He's the guy. And Draymond Green failed Steph Curry by punching Jordan Poole in the face and destroying whatever they had there or might have had. And Bob Myers failed Steph Curry by not setting up a future that was prepared for this moment, and then bailing. And Mike Dunleavy Jr. failed Steph Curry by not being able to complete it. Because the reason I can't trade Steph is you can still win a championship with Steph. This isn't a Steph problem. It's an everybody else problem. For me,
they are signaling that they don't believe that's true anymore. Bottom line, they don't think
you're right. They're wrong. Then
go out and get.
They're wrong.
And I don't know. I don't think Jimmy Butler would make them a title contender. But here's the deal. Here's the deal. A lot of this, and it's just like the answer's always in the middle, Bill. So all the things that we're now critiquing that the Warriors didn't do, it's because they did what we're saying that the Heat should do with Jimmy Butler. It's because they gave Klay Thompson a max contract. He wasn't even going to play for 2 years after. They were rewarding.
Well, I'm not saying give Klay Thompson a max contract. I'm just saying you got to manage the game as it is. Let's do this. We got to take a break. So hold that thought. Brad is going to tell me why it's the same, and then I'm going to gently push back when we come back next year on Beyond the Arc.
The clock never stops. Relive the greatest moments with uninterrupted highlights and more.
It's Gareth Bale! Ronaldo! Wonderful goal!
On the UEFA Champions League channel. Streaming free.
All right, so you think that the Heat and the Warriors, similar accusations here?
No, what I think is the things that we're faulting Pat Riley and the Heat for. We don't bend for anyone. This is the way it is here. I don't care what you've done for us, our way or the highway. The Warriors, and I'm not saying this is wrong either, but they sort of took the opposite approach. When Klay Thompson was probably no longer worth the money that they gave him after the ACL injury, they still gave it to him for who he used to be. When Draymond Green was blowing their franchise up, punching players, running Kevin Durant out of town, Pat Riley would have said, take a hike. That's not how we do it. They have bent to Draymond Green, and now we're criticizing them for allowing Draymond Green to do that. And so my point is, hold on. My point is the Warriors have rewarded the guys probably too much instead of maybe trading Klay Thompson, trading Draymond Green, and giving Steph Curry teams that can be as successful moving forward as they are looking back. They have instead erred on the side of sticking with their guys even when they don't deserve it anymore. And Pat Riley is saying, we're not going to do that. Jimmy Butler's 35 years old. I'm not paying him. Not a little petty remarks. I get that part of it. But it's difficult to navigate right in the middle, and the Warriors haven't found it. They're suffering from paralysis by analysis. They're looking at everything, and they can't make a move. And so they're erring on the side of walk off into the sunset and we'll live on what we did in our past. And I think that's telling Stephen Curry, if you want to win another title, which he said a 5th title would be very important for him. Kobe has 5. Magic has 5.
LeBron does not have 5.
Good point. So they are basically silently telling him, if you want to do that, it's not going to be here. And I think that we are not as romantic as people think. I think Stephen Curry fans, I know I'd be one of them, would absolutely, just like Tom Brady in Tampa Bay.
You're a Warriors fan. You can't.
I will. I'm not a 12-year-old. I don't care about him being.
I'm not a 12-year-old either, but I don't want Michael Jordan to play for the Wizards, and I want to spare you.
I don't want him to go to the Wizards, but if Steph Curry showed up tomorrow on Denver,
hell no, dude, you have lost your.
Give me that all
You've lost
day.
your damn mind.
Give me it all day. No way. And if you're the Warriors and you really want this next phase, dude, want a bunch of picks,
Hold on, Brett. Let me jump in. Here's the thing. The Warriors aren't good enough, even if they trade Steph Curry, to properly build the next phase. That's the point. And the commonality for me between this disease of more thing between the Heat and the Warriors is the arrogance. For Riley, what he did in the past. For the Warriors, what they think they did, but what actually Steph did, it's obscured their judgment. It's made them think they're smarter than they are. It's made both organizations think they're better equipped to be light years ahead, know the way forward. Yet you have to evolve and change. Now, I know Pat Riley can do it. I have more confidence that if he does some soul searching, looks in the mirror, reads his own book, that he can do it. I have no confidence that the Warriors organization, outside of Steph Curry, is capable of a rebuild without Steph Curry. It's literally minus Steph, the worst organization. If you take away Steph's time with the Warriors, it might be the worst organization in the history of professional American sports.
Whoa! Oh, you're talking about before Curry got there. Yeah.
Before you take Curry out of his years, out of that. I mean, remember, they were a joke. They were like barely an NBA team and Brad, forever. So and what has Don Levy Jr. done to make you think, if you can't build a winner, even a competitive basketball team, with Steph Curry, how are you going to build one without him? You trust me you're going to get the right return from.
Here's what they're telling themselves: that when they're no longer restricted by all these salaries, that Andrew Wiggins is on the books, Draymond Green's in a couple years, all this salary, and this is my point, all this salary is going to come off the books, and they are going to have money to work with, and they are a premier destination now. Steph Curry has done that for them, and they're going to have to rebuild the next phase through free agency, and they can do that. It's not going to be these picks that they don't want to trade. That's
anybody can do it. Are these leaders?
I don't know. I think they're for giving them credit for. I mean, I'm not saying that they have galaxy brained this whole thing. I mean,
no one's going there if Steph's not there. Look, can Sam Presti do it? Yes, point proven. Would I trust R.C. Buford to do it? I absolutely would. Are the people in Houston proving they know what they're about? Yes, they do. Nothing the Warriors. By the way, the Warriors, by multiple reports in a book, the Warriors would have traded Steph Curry. Now, this may have been a plant by Jerry West. It's self-serving for him. The Warriors back on this. I have heard, I'm sure you have too, that Jerry West, who was an advisor, obviously, Jerry West, there was a proposal to trade Stephen Curry, and West said, if you do it, I'm out of here. I'm gone. Threw the gauntlet down. And I don't know if that's true, but I know that West recognized who Kobe was. He took the Memphis Grizzlies and made them a winner. I mean, he has a track record of remarkable success as a front office person. So even Steph was sort of an accident that they almost screwed up anyway. They're not winning without Steph Curry.
Yeah. I mean, nobody knew what Steph Curry was going to be. I mean, kudos to Jerry West and for seeing through that, and Don Nelson. That was a different regime. So yeah. I mean, yeah, I've heard the same thing where it was like for the Bucks it was like either Steph or Monta Ellis, and like the Warrior, and I think originally it was Steph, and then they were worried about his ankle. So it's like whatever that says about the Milwaukee guys too, that went,
everybody who missed on Steph,
or the Minnesota guy, it's different regimes. I'm gonna bow it with this. I think
bow it.
Some of this stuff, everybody that wins, the Cavs were a disaster. Then they got LeBron. Everybody that makes this change from a really bad organization to a really good one because they luck into the best player of a generation.
Denver with Jokic. It's not like he was the first pick.
It just
Giannis.
Exactly.
Giannis was a late bloomer.
This happens. Now, I don't think that means we have to saddle the front office with you're incompetent and you nothing but luck has done this. I think the Warriors built very smartly around Steph Curry when they had the resources to do it. Getting guys like Sean Livingston, making the Iguodala trade. I think they were very smart about a lot of things, but it's when they had resources available to them to be smart. They don't think they have the resources or the financial advantages in place now to go out and be that. So they're not as smart as they think. They were smart, but they weren't so smart that they could outdo and moneyball this thing and just even without the resources beat everyone. That's where they
Are
went
they
wrong.
that smart?
That's where they went wrong. Yes, I think that they.
I don't know.
They got the best player and they
Steph.
didn't screw it up.
It's all Steph.
Listen,
All
agreed.
Steph.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I mean, this is a very longer conversation.
It's all.
None of it happens without Steph, of course.
It's
But
all Steph.
Mark Jackson was playing with Steph, and they were a first-round team. They were
No, I mean, Kerr unlocked the code a little bit.
Well, what does every player talk about now of why Steph's the hardest
Dude.
player? Because of off the ball. No other coach, nobody's moving Trae Young off the ball. Nobody's moving Damian Lillard off the ball.
I would argue being better than Mark Jackson at head coaching in the NBA is not some sword from the stone moment. I mean, I'm glad Steve Kerr did it. Remember, and I remember this because I was actually having a drink with Paul George randomly in Indianapolis. Steph scored 50 against the Knicks at the Garden when Jackson was still there. I mean, it was obvious what they had. 54.
Yeah, they were 12th in offense under Mark Jackson. Yeah, no, I know that.
Right.
Steve
Yeah,
Kerr
I'm just saying, like,
deserves credit for what he changed.
he gets some credit, but it's all 30. All right. We got to do both.
What I'll say. Listen.
Okay.
The only thing is, I have to come back to this. You can trade Curry, you can, but they need him to ask for it. You can't survive the PR storm of trading him without. But if they just keep signaling to him, you're still an All NBA player, but we're not going to go for it here, and he asks, they gently. Steph Curry's no bigger than Tom Brady. He went somewhere else.
Tom Brady didn't want to. But like that was because they treated him like garbage. And you're making my point for me. The Patriots thought Brady couldn't win anymore. That's why they let him leave, and they were humiliated. Bill Belichick is a college coach now because he did with Brady. What you're suggesting the Warriors do if they do this? If the Warriors, Mike Dunleavy Jr. is going to be the GM of the Baylor Bears or whatever. I mean, come on, dude. You can't get rid of Steph.
Because they couldn't win. Tom Brady couldn't have won that last title with Tampa in New England because they didn't have the players. Tampa Bay had the players. Steph can win in Houston. Steph can win somewhere else.
I don't want Steph to leave. Okay, we have Brad's bold predictions. Can I make a build prediction to transition to that?
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen this report that I like this talk. Though. LeBron reportedly has Maverick Carter. By the way, anything Maverick Carter does, LeBron is doing. All right, let's just put aside the idea that Maverick's doing it on his own. Maverick Carter's LeBron's longtime business associate, partner, runs his production company, has been LeBron's guy forever. Okay, very smart guy. Maverick Carter's reportedly trying to raise $5 billion to create an international basketball league that rivals the NBA. If this gets even remotely off the ground, if this even becomes a challenger of any, it is a utter betrayal by LeBron James, and it's the only thing that can destroy the guy's legacy for me, because you can't spend your career being the face of the NBA, loving the NBA, and then try to destroy the NBA by starting a rival league to take it on. To me, that is the height of hypocrisy, greed, not paying it forward to the guys that are coming next. I think it's outrageous.
Oh no, I don't.
Mike became an owner of a team, not a competitor of a team.
I'm not necessarily I'm not disagreeing. I think we should have named this podcast "The Smartest Guys in the Room" because we think we have it figured out. LeBron's team, Pat Riley, the Warriors, and LeBron's team, and throw Rich Paul in here. They think they have the business beat. Rich Paul's got the agent business beat. He's got they're probably looking at Live Golf and saying it's just a leverage thing. We're going to get, it's going to be about money.
Yeah.
We're going to threaten this competitive league, and they're probably visualizing it that way. I think practically speaking, you'd never get something like this off the ground because you would never have enough stars. The NBA is a star-driven league. You'd never have enough. Even if for just endorsement deals. Like whoever's Nike's guy, like Anthony Edwards, like, are they going to let him go?
No, it's like the USFL or the Arena League. It's never going to work.
But they think they're smarter business-wise, LeBron and his people. And I think that's sort of like the tie together of this whole conversation is when you have all this success. Pat Riley's had all this success. The Warriors have had all this success. LeBron James has had all this success. It's difficult. I mean, Bill, you're very successful in your career. You've stopped at a lot of different places. You think that you know that what you're saying is rooted in people I've talked to and experiences I've had. And when you have success and you've done it right and you believe what you believe, it is difficult to just change, throw that down and say, I can't achieve this. I can't achieve that.
But the difference is I don't think I'm an expert on marine biology or financial instruments that are designed to fool people. Like one of the problems with really successful people, and I live in Manhattan Beach, California, which is a very wealthy place. And if any of you are watching that are my friends here, you're the one person I'm not talking about. It is amazing how many people here are it's like NBA owners are so good at what they're great at, but they think they're an expert on everything. There's a guy that I'm friends with who I won't say what he does for a living in case he watches, who's like one of the best people in the world. He's so rich at what he does. And he lectures me on the NBA, and he sounds like an idiot 9-year-old.
Oh, sure.
And my point is that you have these successful people. Just because LeBron is a basketball genius, and he is a basketball genius, doesn't mean he's a genius at other things. So, yeah, do you and I have like a healthy self-confidence that we're smart?
The Maverick Carter guys and Rich Paul, they're going to say business is their domain.
But it's not. Like, I mean, I don't think – who's the most successful media person in the country right now? Like, who is –
I don't know.
Colin Cowherd.
Money?
Yeah, like Colin Cowherd is one of them. Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith is really talented. Stephen A. Smith's best friend, I don't know. If he works with Stephen A., probably has a pretty good life. But that wouldn't make Stephen A. Smith's best friend who gets to work with him an expert on how to put somebody on Mars. And that is the problem with me with LeBron's guys. Congratulations that you drafted off LeBron. I actually think that they're impressive. Maverick's impressive in some of their spheres. Rich has done a great job. But you're right. They're biting off more than they can chew. And I don't know yet whether their success continues when LeBron's not a player. Because once that shine's gone, once he's not playing, I think it'll be interesting to see what Rich Paul, the agent, looks like in 15 years.
It seems like he's built something pretty solid, but
it seems like it right now.
But here's what I'm going to end this on. If I was the Lakers, I would have traded LeBron too. Everyone's romantic. I would have traded LeBron. I would have traded. When you're not going to win, you're not going to win, and you keep forcing it. Now, listen. Go talk to Danny Ainge and go talk to the Celtics right now when Danny Ainge traded Paul Pierce. And I know Paul Pierce didn't mean to the Celtics.
That's a good example.
What Curry means to the Warriors. I know that. But generally speaking.
Oh, you're back to this?
I would have traded. No. Hey, I'm ending on I would have traded LeBron. If I was the Lakers, I would have traded Kobe. The last fight, I would have traded Kobe. And I'm not saying that they should. I'm just saying they shouldn't be completely opposed.
I was covering that team on radio. I was talking about that team on radio. I wasn't covering it every day. Here's what they should have done with Kobe. Because they offered him, and Aaron will know, but it was a lot of money at the time. It was, I think, 2 years, $52 or $54 million in his last 2 years. That really $2 and $50, which really solidified that they were going to be garbage. And I know this isn't Jeannie Buss. She wasn't running the team then. I know this isn't the Buss family's deal. I know that they have a history of sort of taking care of players all the way back to Showtime and Dr. Buss. I get it. That's why LeBron came, so these things are complicated. However, Kobe had them by the you-know-whats. But Kobe didn't want to leave. All they had to do was say, we love you, you're great, and we are not going to pay you that money. We're going to pay you 2 years, $10 million a year, and that's what we're going to do. And we're going to because there was a model at the time. There was a counter model. There was an inverted approach to this sort of dynastic continuation hope, and that was the Spurs. Those guys took lower than market value all the time. Tim Duncan wasn't the most important player on his final championship team. He wasn't the finals MVP. He didn't lead that team in minutes. He didn't play that often. Tony Parker was the best player on that team, and Kawhi was the actual finals MVP. The point is, there's a model where your superstar, by choice or by force, can be secondary at what you make or sort of your shine. I'm with you on the Lakers, other than I wouldn't have traded him. I just would have dared him to leave, and I don't think he would have. Dirk's another great example. Producer Aaron points out.
Yeah, I'm just saying the Mavericks stunk at the end of Dirk. The Lakers stunk.
Well, that's because that's on Cuban, though. That's, again, the disease more. Because, remember, they won a championship, And then Cuban thought I had an email exchange with him where he ended up calling me an idiot because I pointed this out to him. Remember, they broke a championship team up because like, oh, I'm going to create cap space and get LeBron eventually, and it didn't happen. You're right, they stunk, but they also blew up that team and didn't run it back when they beat the Heat.
Here's the deal: at the end of where I'm coming from on this is at the end of Dirk's career, at the end of Kobe's career, they're nowhere near the player that Steph still is right now. They were truly just playing off of who they were in the past and getting paid.
Yeah. Steph's still amazing.
Okay, so I'm talking about 5 years before that, when they still have premium value and you can rebuild like what Ainge did with Pierce. That's what I'm talking. If Steph Curry, if it's 5 years from now and they still have Steph Curry and they can get him to take $17 million and go off into the sunset for less money, then fine. But right now, I think we cannot stand on the adage that this is.
Are we still on this? No.
I'm back in because I said I would have traded LeBron. I was kind of trying to end it.
I like it. No, you can't. Dude, it's different. LeBron's played. There's 30 teams in the NBA. I believe LeBron's played for 37 of them. I mean, he's been a mercenary his whole career, and I love that he got a title for Cleveland. That was amazing, emotional, and cool. My wife's from Ohio, but you can move on, LeBron, right? Like the mercenary, you're allowed to say, "Hey, nice doing business with you. You can't be here anymore." Steph is family in Golden State.
When the Cavs let him leave, the homegrown kid, the first time they let him leave,
him leave. Yeah. He left. They didn't let him leave.
I know, but
he was like middle fingers. I'm out of here.
But listen, you could make the same argument that they let him leave by not building enough around him. Like what?
No, dude.
Steph Curry.
I got a buddy
he was going to the finals with, like
dude,
Gauskas and Mo Williams, whoever was on those teams.
I got a buddy who looks like Screech from Saved by the Bell. He married one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen. When I met them, I said, "Is this your sister?" It was awful. When she left, when she eventually divorced him, he's a great guy. He didn't let her leave. She looked around and said, I can do better. That's what LeBron did. I mean, come on. Poor Cleveland.
But I don't know. I can't go back to that time, but like I'm sure there were criticisms of the best people you're putting around this generational homegrown stars, Boobie Gibson.
It was Cleveland. If I can go back to my poor ugly friend's analogy, that guy couldn't make his face look any better, right? Like, it was Cleveland. They couldn't. People weren't coming in. You know,
I just know they didn't want him to leave, and he did by not. And I think the Warriors, Steph Curry's such a good guy, but they're sort of doing the same thing. They're saying you're not going to win here,
dude. All right.
I do.
I'm gonna read producer Aaron's comment because you're both Warriors fans. I just want both sides of this to be represented from a Warriors perspective. Producer Aaron, because we have a chat, who by the way worked in the NBA, big Warriors guy. He writes, Clay can go, Dre can go. I want Kerr to go. He hates Kerr. If Steph wants to play on the Warriors till he's 75, he can make whatever he wants. I will not be okay if Steph plays elsewhere. I'm not even a Warriors fan, and I'm 100% emotionally connected to that view.
If I'm watching, this is what we're watching right now, and Aaron, this is painful. Well, who's enjoying watching this? Like, just because Steph Curry's putting your jersey on, like, this is painful.
Then move everyone else.
I would agree with that. Fine. Hey, go. If
blow it up, but not Steph.
I agree with that, but the indications are they're not going to do that. So the choice is standing pat. Yeah.
Trade everybody. Trade everybody. You know what? Trade everybody for LeBron then.
If they do that,
send everybody.
I would be stoked. We can have an emergency pause. But they're signaling that they're not going to do that. So if my choice is this or trade Curry, trade Curry. If my choice is trade everybody else and be competitive again,
don't trade Curry. That's not a choice. Not a choice.
Disagree.
Not.
I understand your points. I do understand
I get where you come from.
But we're too romantic about this stuff. We say it's a business about everything else. I would be open to trade. You've made your $9 billion that your franchise is worth. You've won your 4 titles. You can almost kind of do right by Steph and give him another chance to win. It would be
do right by him. Keeping him with the Warriors.
If they do that. But again, they're signaling they're not going to do that. They're going to ride this thing out into 35-win sunsets. I'd rather he be traded than that. That's all I'm saying.
I think this is where I think we just have a very different perspective. I think they're signaling that they are not good at their jobs. I don't think this is intention. I think it's a lack of the high-level competence they think they have because like other teams that have had GOATs, they are shrouded in the shine of Steph Curry, and they're confusing themselves for the source of that shine.
Let me ask you this then. If you think that, and I agree with you, if the Warriors, they like thinking that they're the smartest guy in the room and that they'll pull triggers, they'll hit levers that other teams won't. The Lakers wouldn't dare trade Kobe. The Mavericks wouldn't dare trade Dirk. But we're the team that saw ahead, that saw the return that we could get. And while he still had value,
they'll win 12 games.
We went and built, just imagine 15 years from now, we went and built another championship. They would love that. They would love that.
If tomorrow, this isn't going to happen, but if tomorrow or whatever, in the offseason, in a shocking twist, they trade Mike Dunleavy Jr. and Jonathan Kuminga for Sam Presti, and Sam Presti is running the Warriors, you can trade Steph. Because at least that guy, there's nothing to believe that this arrogant ownership group and this front office can succeed. Yes, you have opportunities to build out Steph if you give him away for things, but you have to. There's not a magic box, Brad. You're not like, give me the magic box that guarantees we're going to win a championship in 3 years. You have to draft the right people, and you have to develop them properly, which, by the way, Steve Kerr has shown he can't do. You have to know what you're doing. I mean, the Warriors, they won the lottery.
Hey, Bill,
they won the lottery, and that isn't a skill.
Okay, fine. But here's the deal. They still have the lottery ticket. If they're not smart enough to do this on their own, the one can't miss thing for building their next 10 to 12 years
still have the lottery
Stephen Curry. An idiot, a monkey could trade Stephen Curry and build your next 10 years. If you think they're that dumb, that's the one foolproof move. It is.
Dude, they're going to get draft picks. You have to draft properly. You have to draft the right people. What do you mean? There's no guarantee in the draft.
The best chance you can have. They're not going to, whoever they
the best chance you have. Yes, which is Steph.
Whoever they think they're going to get with this, the 20th pick they're hoarding, or Jonathan Kuminga, they can make a splash with Curry.
I'll bet on Steph Curry in the next 3 or 4 years over Mike Dunleavy and Lacob's we're light years ahead arrogance. Dunleavy's not arrogant, but I just haven't seen anything. And their ability to draft the right pieces and have Steve Kerr develop those guys. What's he going to do? Like Kuminga going to bench him for 4 years? Is that the development plan?
You're betting on Steph Curry connected to Mike Dunleavy and Joe Lacob. So if they're together. So by betting on Steph with the Warriors, you're betting on them.
Yeah, because he's already overcome the idiocy of that organization multiple times.
In my opinion, we've established that a lot of things fell into their lap that are no longer there.
Right. Why not? You think that we should trade superstars. And I'm with you on LeBron because I don't think he's not family in LA the way that Steph is. Why not just trade Kuminga, Moody, I don't care who it is. Name any players you want in every draft pick and go get LeBron and just see if you can roll some magic one last time. I'm here for that.
From a fun standpoint, and they wouldn't win the title with LeBron and Curry.
I think they'd compete. I think they'd be like
the Warriors. The Lakers are 12 points worse per 100 possessions when LeBron.
I know they are, but I think
it would be a fun all-star thing, and I'd be up for it for the fun of it because a lot of this for me is the fun of it. I'm having no fun watching Stephen Curry. I would be if Steph Curry was on the Rockets tomorrow. I would
be emotional.
I'd be so tuned into that game. It'd be unbelievable. I would. But, yeah, that'd be fun. But what the Warriors are saying is, because LeBron's a decent example. He's a guy that has been talked about in theory. I don't know how realistic it is. But the Warriors are saying LeBron, Jimmy Butler, obviously Paul George when they went after him. Those guys, they're not close enough. They're not good enough. They would need to get like 2 or 3 guys. And they don't think they do that.
I think LeBron, you're right. Like some of the LeBron Steph Curry thing is it's either a rocket ship or it's a train wreck, but whatever it is, I kind of want to see it.
I'd be all for it. If you want to give Curry any kind of shot to at least be in the playoffs with a functional second wingman and we can take a puncher's chance, I'd be fine with that. I'm just saying if the alternative is what it is right now, which until something changes, they are riding off into the sunset with no expectation of contention. If that's my alternative.
It's not. By the way, what's crazy is they have a top 10 defense. Like Stack has done. I'm so pissed about this. I went out to Golden State for 3 days of my life to spend a bunch of time with Jerry Stackhouse to write how great the Warriors are, look at their defense. Yeah. And then I think they've lost every game since then. Not really, but that's what it feels like when you're rooting for something. But the defense, it's the offense that is brutal. So it's brutal. You also would think if it doesn't take as many pieces. You have more of a margin for error in bringing in help to try to get the offense turned around if you have Steph Curry. So, like, there's a world where they could make the moves.
Dude, Bill, I'm with you. But that world has been there since they drafted James Wiseman, and they haven't done it. So, again.
Wiseman, great example.
I'm going off of what they've shown me. If they're going to do that, I want to trade Kuminga. I want to trade Moody. I want to trade Podziemski. I want to trade the draft picks. But if they're not going to do that, I'm out on what we're seeing right now for the next half decade. I'm out.
You can't trust the team that drafted Wiseman and then went and traded for D'Angelo Russell as their make good.
Anthony Slater was on a podcast the other day, so Anthony Edwards was gettable in that draft. Now, nobody knew what Anthony Edwards was going to be. That was a very contentious.
But some people knew. I mean, I remember talking to some people who were like, "This guy's going to be a perennial all-star," and me thinking, because I don't watch a lot of college hoops, thinking I haven't heard. I mean, like, not everybody knew, but the really smart front office people knew, which brings us back to the fact that's not the Warriors. It's a great point. I mean, you have to be good enough to be able to see this stuff. Market opportunities, draft opportunities.
Dude, I couldn't agree more. So why I'm saying, I don't think with this front office and with this coach and with all, I don't think Steph's ever going to win again. So go somewhere else. That's
a different conversation. You're asking what's in Steph's best interest. I'm talking about what's in the Warriors' best interest. But I think maybe it's different.
Set up the next 10 years and call yourself smart again. Take the lottery ticket and play it twice.
Put Steph. By the way, DB, they were going to choose Ellis over Steph. Yeah, they were. That was one of the things that Jerry West, I think, overrode. If I remember the timeline, and there's so many Warriors almost screw ups. It's hard to keep track of.
Dude, totally. And he also, which even bigger, once they had Steph in the pocket, he also overrode not trading Klay Thompson for Kevin Love. That was reportedly a 50-50 split in the war room, and that would have they would have not won. They would have not won. And I'll admit, at the time, I was like, dude, Kevin Love and Steph Curry pick and roll, pick and pop. I was all, they made the right call.
No, everybody wanted it. We all thought it was, none of us knew. But that's the thing. We say the Warriors were awful outside of Steph. I think the actual fair, nuanced perspective is Jerry West's genius was critical to unlocking a lot of the things that led to us finding out how good Steph could be in the right situation.
Steve Kerr's offense. Now it's become antiquated. He become like we're talking about Pat Riley. A lot of this stuff circles back together. So it worked for him once. It was not
evolve.
Running the pick and roll, running matchup based, stagnant offense wasn't working with Mark. He came in, he moved him off the ball. He did player and ball movement, and it opened up everything. But now, like Pat Riley, since he had the success in the past, he's refused to run pick and rolls with Stephen Curry. He's not adapting offensively, and that's a tie together.
He's
so much success, he won't deviate. Steve Kerr will not deviate from Curry's minutes. He will not up his minutes. He won't deviate from the way he runs his offense, even though there's not another single other player who can create one-on-one. And all teams are doing is switching off ball to stymie Curry. He's not evolving. So if we're not going to evolve offensively, we're not going to evolve in the front office. I can't say it any louder. Play the
I know.
Play the lottery ticket again. You still have it in your pocket. You still have it in your pocket.
It reminds me of, remember Chip Kelly? Remember Chip Kelly was a offensive NFL genius. And he revolutionized offense in football, college and the NFL. And he made it to the Eagles. And for a brief tenure, it worked. But he never evolved. And all of these people took his principles, but then did what you have to do. You have to keep evolving. So like there's this through line of success convincing you that you are smarter than everybody else. But the thing that made you successful was your ability to sort of like take chances and be bold. And when that boldness goes away because you become too comfortable, you become the Heat. I think under Pat Riley, you become the Warriors, you become all these teams. All right, this was really fun. We've gone really long, but this has been a fun podcast, Mr. Bakken. We're going to skip. I feel like you saying trade Steph Curry is bold enough for us to not even do predictions. I will say this. I don't want to prolong this too much. I don't agree with you that they should do it. If you put Steph Curry on the Rockets tomorrow, they are a champion. They're a championship contender.
Don't tell me that he's
watching. They can win the whole thing.
As a report,
forget watching.
You're pumped. You're like,
they can win the whole thing.
Let's go.
I mean, you can't give away too much, but assuming that they do the right moves, that's a Cleveland level basketball team. I'll be crazy enough to say it.
Any Warriors fan says
they're young.
Steph Curry
can't do it.
The Rockets, or the Nuggets, or the Magic tomorrow.
All right.
I would be I would fly to that game. Fly
You
to
don't
it.
know one? You don't know one? Yes, you do. Aaron Larsoul, our producer, just told you nicely, shut your face, like Pat Riley did. He totally. That's one.
He's too
All right.
tied to romance.
Team of, yeah, he is. Team of the night. Who? Oh, my God. This was fun. Team of the night.
Okay, I got two quick ones. One, and they played each other. The Rockets and the Kings. The Rockets. I'm
Yeah,
putting
pick one. We have a standing.
Jalen Green is having one of his heaters right now. He's going nuts. And if he can be this guy, because why we're talking about Steph Curry with the Rockets is because they are the go-to scorer away from championship contention. Jalen Green has the chops to be that guy, but he hasn't been able to sustain these streaks. He's had big streaks like this. He had an 11-game win streak last March where he averaged 30, shooting 45% from three.
Yep.
He's been going nuts. Can he sustain it? The Kings, Doug Christie coming in. I think they're 7-1 with Doug Christie. They played each other. They won again last night. 5th clutch game. So it opens up a bigger conversation we can't have right now. But 5th clutch win since they were losing all the clutch games before. Now he comes in, they're winning the clutch games. So is he a good coach, or are they just winning the clutch games?
You got to pick one. You got to pick one team.
Rockets, because I'm writing on Jalen Green. Rockets.
All right. I'm going to very quickly go Pacers. They've won, I think, 8 of 10, and beating the Pistons is actually a good win now. And I think there's a conversation we're going to be having maybe in the next week about how seriously to take the Pacers. All right, I'm Bill Reiter. He's the Warriors fan that wants to boot Steph Curry to the curb. Get out of here. You want a Pat Riley Steph Curry.
I do.
You do. All right. Is this a record for the longest pod we've done here on Beyond the Arc? It's got to be close. It's got to be in the neighborhood. It is, apparently.
And
all right. I like it.
We got things. I'd keep going. We got things that need to be settled, brother.
I like Off the Rails Fridays. That's what we're going to rename it. Beyond the Arc is Off the Rails Fridays on Friday because you're here and I'm hosting. So it's just like we are off and running. That was fun. Have a good weekend, dude. I'm sure we'll revisit this very topic next week. This is Beyond the Arc. By the way, John Gonzalez and I will be here on Monday. So keep hanging out. Live noon Eastern on YouTube. Go to our YouTube page. Hit the little subscribe button. If you're listening on the podcast version, please subscribe and like and give us a 5-star review. For Brad Botkin, I'm Phil Reiter. Thank you for listening for as long as you did. We'll see you back here Monday on Beyond the Arc.